Hello everybody, here's what's coming up tonight on Now. We're going to take a special look at the sandwich generation, which is when you're taking care of children and you have to take care of your parents as well. It's a really hard situation to be in. We'll take a look at it, some important information for you guys.
Plus, we're continuing that series, Selling Girls, having that very important conversation about sex trafficking and people here in Maine physically going through it. Plus, would you read release documents classified of JFK's assassination? We're asking you.
A lot of talk about this one, and this is News Center Now.
President Trump confirms that the federal government will release highly anticipated records related to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy at some point today.
Kennedy was assassinated in 1963. A man named Lee Harvey Oswald was found responsible for his assassination. But still today, people have questions. There are several conspiracy theories that exist surrounding all of this. Hello, everybody. I'm Lee Goldberg.
And I'm Amanda Hill. Okay, obviously, social media exploded when President Trump announced the release. Right now, we're asking you to weigh in. So go to pulse.newscentermaine.com or open up the mobile app and select the Pulse tab. Will you read the declassified JFK files?
Will you?
Yes.
You've got no, yes, or meh. I'm a little interested.
I'm interested.
All right, so you're meh?
I'm more of a yes.
I'm a yes. I want to know.
Yeah.
All right, News Center's Tennyson Coleman also wants to know all this information. He sat down with an expert today to talk about what people can expect from this big release.
David House is an associate professor of history at Husson University. Like many, he anticipated Wednesday's release of over 3,000 records related to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy.
What I'm fascinated by is, in some eras of history, we suffer from a problem of sometimes a lack of information or primary source information.
There have been several conspiracy theories surrounding Kennedy's death, but one of the most prominent.
They felt that the answer that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone was maybe not as satisfying as they like.
According to a poll commissioned by media outlet 538, 61% of Americans believe Oswald, the only man held responsible for Kennedy's death, had help, with some believing that help came from Mexico. So could today's release support this theory? House says not so fast.
Are you expecting any bombshell information?
Not really, but you never know. Some things I'm looking for is actually what I can learn more about American intelligence operations in Mexico City, which a lot of the documents are going to be related to Oswald's trip to Mexico City in September of 1963.
He also believes this release could be a step in the right direction, rebuilding trust between the people and their government.
By President Trump actually saying, I'm not going to block this, they're going to be released, I think what he's also trying to show is he's trying to say, I think, that he's interested in a more transparent government.
When the files are released, you'll be able to find them on the National Archives website.
We have a lot of documents that are available right there.
They are files that may shed new light on one of the darkest days in U.S. history. In Bangor, Tennyson Coleman, News Center.
Earlier today on Facebook, we asked you what you still wanted to know about the JFK assassination, something you've always wondered maybe. Dave says if there was a conspiracy, he would want to know if anyone who's still in politics today was involved at the time. Barbara doesn't think we're going to get very many answers today, and Abingdale seems to agree. Comment on our Facebook Live right now. Tell us what you want the new documents to reveal.
All right, we are on day 3 of the yuck and the wet and the rain and the wind, and somehow we let Keith still come into the building. What's going on?
Well, you didn't yesterday. Don't forget that. I wasn't allowed in the building yesterday. It is the last rainy day, at least for a couple of days, and you can see that rain kind of building back along the southern coast, getting a little bit of a break over down east, but basically plan on rain through the rest of tonight as this connection, the tropical connection, starts to cut off. But look at this band again coming back into Falmouth and eventually into Brunswick as well. That will be another band of moderate rainfall. We had that connection all the way from the Gulf of Mexico starting to cut off over southern New England, so that will be the end of our rain early tomorrow morning. But it's been a while, right? Winds starting to settle as well, around 10 miles an hour or so, a far cry from the 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts that we saw yesterday, and temperatures in the upper 50s. So the rain starts to die down by tomorrow morning, and maybe a little bit of snow in the higher terrain, mainly Mount Washington, maybe out towards Sugarloaf there in the Carrabassett Valley. And then tomorrow morning, we start to clear out. Tomorrow afternoon looks great, and Saturday looks fantastic. Guys, though, there is a storm coming on Monday. I think is going to be a whole lot stronger than anything we saw the past couple of days.
Not great. Not great.
All right, sir.
Thanks, Keith. All right, Christina Rex is in our newsroom with more news now. Hey, Christina.
Hey, Amanda and Lee. Here's what's going on in the news now. Another accusation against former President George H.W. Bush, this time a lot closer to home. Another actress tells Deadspin that 41 also touched her inappropriately and made a dirty joke. Jordana Gralnick said it happened last fall at a main production of The Hunchback of Notre Dame. A quick internet search shows the Ogunquit Playhouse was showing that play last year. The Southern Maine Theater says they have no comment about the alleged incident. Last night, the Bush family spokesperson released another statement, saying in part that the president is confined to a wheelchair, quote, so his arm falls on the lower waist of people with whom he takes pictures, end quote. That goes on to say Bush 41 often tells the same joke to put people at ease, and on occasion has patted women's rears in a good-natured manner. President Bush apologizes to anyone he's offended. Guys, back to you.
All right, Christina, thank you very much. Still to come on now. Deciding to put your parents in a nursing home is a difficult choice. It's made even harder by the insanely high costs.
And I'm not quite sure how it's going to be manageable. I have children at home.
An in-depth look at paying for your parents' care next on Now.
It's pretty common knowledge that the state of Maine has one of the oldest populations in the entire country. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, Maine has the highest median age in the nation at 44.6 years old. We have the second highest percentage of senior citizens in the nation at 19.4%, which is just behind Florida.
The average Social Security monthly benefit for retired workers is $1,341. Now, looking at these numbers, you can see there are a lot of people in their 30s and 40s who are faced with the difficult task of preparing to take care of their aging parents.
It's very, very hard. Very hard. It's very stressful.
MJ Grant is part of what's known as the sandwich generation. That's when you're responsible for taking care of your own children and your parents at the same time. Having the conversation about future care with a parent can be uncomfortable.
It's an incredibly hard conversation, but important. We always tell folks that it's better to plan ahead than to be in a crisis and trying to scramble, trying to find resources and supports.
It's the resources, or lack of them, that's a problem in our state. There are more people who need nursing home or assisted living facilities than there are facilities to be had. One of the keys is getting on a waiting list, and you can't start too early.
You really do want to think ahead, like a long time ahead. 5-7 years out is not a bad, thought process in terms of just filling out these applications, getting your names on lists.
It's one thing to have a plan in place for long-term care, but it's another one to figure out how you're going to pay for it.
We had no idea how much it was going to cost. None.
If you want to move into an assisted living facility, you're looking at somewhere between $4,000 and $7,000 a month. If you need nursing home care, that's about $10,000 to $12,000 per month. And insurance could be a problem.
Medicare doesn't cover long-term care, and that's something that people don't understand. They think, well, I've got Medicare, I'm all set. Medicare only covers very short periods of rehab stays in a facility, so you're either private pay or you're main care.
But that's another problem, because there are fewer and fewer facilities that take main care each year.
I wish more places took main care because it is heartbreaking for me to talk to these families, day after day after day. Another one will call, and I have to say, I'm really, really sorry, but I don't have a spot. And then when you give them other options, places that do have main care, there's not that many anymore. So as the numbers are growing of folks who are living in our state and aging and needing that level of care, there are fewer and fewer options available.
Okay, so how about private pay? Most facilities require proof that you can pay for 2 years of services before they'll even take you on. That means you need to have somewhere between $100,000 and $300,000 saved up.
It's heartbreaking because that generation especially, they saved all of their money. My parents saved all of the money they could save. And they wanted money to be able to pass down, and they wanted to be able to save for, you know, emergencies or trips or traveling and, you know, their lifelong dreams. And all of that money is gone.
So what can people do? Besides save lots of money and plan way ahead, there are other options.
For folks in their mid-50s, if you're healthy, buy long-term care insurance. Because that will help offset the cost of a lot of assisted living programs. And it gives you a little bit of an advantage if you can come with some assets to help private pay for a while.
I'm not quite sure what's going to happen in a couple of months when our money runs out. And so pre-planning definitely would have been the best thing to do, because if we had known that, you know, at 50 years old you should get long-term disability or long-term care insurance, then we would have done that. We probably would have done that.
Now, in-home care is also an option, but that's either also main care only or private pay only, and there's another issue.
The workers themselves are not getting huge amounts of money to go in and help people with a bath or clean their home or any of those things, and it's tough work. I mean, I think some people just really, that's their passion and they do it despite the low wages. But I think we need to be looking at that as a state, that we need to compensate people more for doing that kind of work if we want to have enough people to do the work for the aging population that we have in Maine.
And you can learn more about your options by checking out this story on our website. Tough topic. At some point, everybody's going to have to deal with it. I had to go through it, and it's not easy. Tons of information out there, so just get ahead of it is the best advice I can give.
Something a lot of people are going through right now, for sure. Yeah, very interesting information. Okay, man, we've had some tough days, but kind of necessary to get that rain.
It's been good, and some of these rainfall totals are huge, actually, almost 6 inches in spots. We talked about this earlier, or over 6 inches. Lee and I talked about that, the fact that we weren't ashamed that I had to look up where Alexander was in Washington County, but that's okay. You know, it is. They got a bunch of rain there. They got about 6 inches in Patton as well, Bar Harbor, Caribou. So some big totals, not as much over southern Maine, where they ended up around 2 in Portland, around 3 in Augusta. But yeah, these are big numbers, and they helped with the drought for sure. We have another rainstorm coming. Still raining out there. It's really long-term, long-track kind of stuff. Another band coming in out over the ocean. It is now, though, cutting off that connection with the Gulf of Mexico that gave us so much precipitable water and so much vapor to get down into the lower levels of the atmosphere over the past couple of days. We're cutting that off. We'll start to clear out by late tonight and early tomorrow morning. You can see it on our RPM here, and look at that pocket of snow in Mount Washington. Certainly a possibility that they see accumulating, or likelihood they see accumulating snow tonight in through tomorrow morning. Start with some clouds tomorrow morning, clear out though by late morning, and then throughout the rest of the day it's nice through Friday afternoon, and beautiful through Saturday as well. Temperatures starting in the 30s and ending up in the 60s. All right, we have to watch the storm though as we come into Monday. We're going to get a storm to come up and connect with the low-level jet. That low-level jet will allow some of these really strong winds to get to the surface. We're not sure exactly how strong they're going to be, but here's the wind gust layer that we have for Monday morning. These are gusts, and they may be overdone, but obviously the idea here is we have the potential for some pretty good wind gusts on Monday. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that and see exactly how many of those get to the surface on Monday. All right, until then, Saturday looks good. Sunday's falling apart on us a little bit. That storm on Monday is so big that its outer bands will get in probably on Sunday afternoon and start giving us some showers. And then Monday is nasty. Again, wind gusts over 60 miles an hour, a distinct possibility on Monday. And then we cool down and clear out for Halloween. So that could be Halloween decorations could be a problem.
I was going to say, you could be stepping over some branches maybe and some decorations.
And oh, am I in this? And like skeletons and all the other stuff you put in your yard if it's 65 miles an hour the day before. We'll see.
All right.
All right. Thanks, sir. Cindy Williams with us now. Let us know what's coming up in the next half hour. Hey, Cindy.
Hey, guys. Governor LePage made a trip to Washington, D.C. so he could be there when President Trump announced a plan to fight the ongoing opioid epidemic. We're going to hear about the federal government's efforts in this area tonight, coming up at 5:30. Back to you.
In a moment.
All this operates in the shadows. All this operates in secrecy. When I was in the midst of it, I never thought of it. I never thought of sex trafficking. I was paying to escape for 50 minutes, a half an hour just to escape.
The sinister characters who force girls into sex slavery want to stay hidden. But today on Selling Girls, a man who purchased girls for sex comes forward. When people hear sex trafficking, they often think of massage parlors or faraway countries. But for Gabby, her prison was an upscale apartment complex in the suburbs.
Now, the story of two people in the world of sex trafficking in America. One bought sex and the other was sold. This story could be disturbing for some of you.
My own type of hell. There isn't a prison there already, but it's just prison that you can't see.
They're promising them the world and then delivering them into hell. If you think it's not happening in your town, it's happening right around the corner. It's everywhere.
Buyers can be your pastor, your teacher, the soccer coach that lives down the street.
All this operates in the shadows. All this operates in secrecy. I'm sure there's guys who say, well, I don't go to underage because I know. You don't know. I was a big part of the problem. Not just me, but the purchasers. My side of the equation. If there's nobody going to buy it, there's no need to have supply. When I was in the midst of it, I never thought of it. I never thought of sex trafficking. I was paying to escape for 50 minutes, a half an hour just to escape. This emptiness, it's shame, it's guilt, you just feel like you just vomited on yourself. Typical American guy. I mean, baseball, apple pie, and mom, you know, that's me. First 5, 6, 7 years of marriage were good. Have our second child, and my wife doesn't seem to be really interested in me. I wanted that physical affection, and I wasn't getting it from her, and the prostitute becomes a tool for the purchaser. They're a means for me to get my fix. One of the worst days of my life. To have to tell them what I've become. It's devastating. I had it all, and I chose to throw it away. Ended up getting divorced. Don't have custody of my children.
I was in a really rough spot where I needed to make money. And, you know, I have one mom who's already had enough of me, and my dad is out of the picture. So I got very desperate and then entered the world of trafficking. You would be in the apartment alone. Men will request, I want a schoolgirl outfit, or I want R&B music on, you know, like it gets worse. You wait for a knock on the door, and then you have to hug them in a specific way where you would put your hands up the middle of their back and then go back down and then around their hip, because you had to check for guns, knives. Pimp, of course, would give you Molly or cocaine or anything that was some sort of upper. You're basically a shell of yourself just doing this act, and then like just praying, wishing it's over in the next 2 seconds. He would open his laptop and make me read reviews on me. He wants to make sure that his clientele isn't disappointed. These are women's husbands, and these are people's, you know, judges or DAs. They would talk about their wives. Yeah, oh yeah, it was weird. They would talk about their, one even said, I have a 19-year-old daughter. They just look like normal people. Normal flippin' people.
If there's no needs, there's no need to have supply. If there's nobody going to buy it, there's no need to have supply.
The way you work it, no diggity. I got to bag it up. I like the way you work it.
Well, if you like that song, you might be a psychopath. That's what a new report just came out with. They took 200 people, 260 songs, made them rate them, and then they had them take a test to see if they exhibited signs of being a psychopath. No Diggity, Lose Yourself were two of the top scoring psychopath songs, and the least psychopathic song, My Sharona by The Knack.
I mean, I also like that.
Also a good one.
It's not causation, it's correlation, which we talk about all the time.
All right.
Right. Good
Well,
to know.
I disagree, because I love both those songs.
All right, really quickly before we go,
Just a
let's
second.
get some results of today's Pulse poll. We had asked how many of you actually want to see these documents if they are released.
Majority
Do
of
have
you said
results?
yes. Nope,
Yes.
the majority said yes, and the reports might be a little bit delayed.
Yes.
So
Go online
stay
for the
tuned
latest.
for the latest. No, see if I Thursday.
Nailed it.